some of the trends that the food manufacturers face. Let's touch on those. The boomers are retiring. How do you see that? Is that a trend of opportunity or a trend of concern?
Well, I'm going to say both. I mean, if you look at consumption, right? So no doubt, I mean, the Canadian population is aging. If you look at the share of population age 65 or over, it's going to go from 15% a few years back to 23% in just 10 years. And so it's just a major shift. I think it has an impact on demand and on supply. On the demand side, what do they want to eat? They're going to have a different diet for sure. Just think of dairy, for example. Is this a good thing or a bad thing? You can think, well, it may be a good thing because calcium needs of
right.
an older population will go up, and right. Perhaps you can fill that need with some of the dairy products that we sell. But I've seen some evidence that yes, that's true, but at the same time, calcium needs can be filled by other products as well. So it's not necessarily clear now who's going to stand to benefit or lose in that case. And on the supply side, it means a shrinking active working age population. And then it raises a number of issues. How are you going to compensate for this as a business? You can pay higher wages to retain your employees. You can invest in more capital, more equipment. Those are not very easy decisions to make for a business. And so I think part of the story here is when you think of labor and the impact of a reduced labor force over the next so many years, labor is already a strategic asset for a business, quite frankly.
Immigration is another thing that has clearly changed the face of our country. I can think I know the answer to this, but how do you see immigration in terms of opportunity for the food manufacturers?
Again, playing on both sides of the equation, playing on the demand side, what consumers want to purchase, and also playing on my cost of production and how can I use that part of that new expanding labor force to fill some of the needs that I have within my business. On the consumption side of things, we came up with a very simple exercise looking at over the next 7 years, between now, or 6 years, I guess, between now and 2020, looking at the projected 2.2 million new immigrants in Canada. That translates, very simple calculation, that translates into $27 billion worth of food purchases. And that's, I think, actually underestimating the true extent of the impact that these new consumers will have in food markets. And so it's just a really big chunk in the market that we have to think about. What do they want to eat? And as well, if you think of a shrinking working age population in Canada and you have all these immigrants coming in Canada, what is the strategy for businesses to tap into that perspective or pool of workers to fill some of the needs that we'll have within the businesses in Canada?
Get your comment about customer feedback. Was it Mark Twain that said that the customer is the only critic whose opinion matters at all? Question is that still true, or is customer feedback, can it be fickle and misleading?
Well, I think more so than ever, right? Knowing your customer makes sense in all businesses and all kinds of businesses, but I think, in the food sector more so than ever. And there's a number of things that have changed, from a consumption standpoint. Consumers care about different things now. They care about health, obviously, food safety. Their own personal values have an impact on what they want to purchase, what they want to eat. So there's a lot of different variables out there that have an impact on what businesses can sell and what the targets that they have in the marketplace. Now, I think, going back, 10, 15 years maybe, not more than that, I think we had a model where in the entire agri-food supply chain, we had a model of, this is what is produced at the farm. I'm a producer, farmer, I go to my buyer who's a processor. What is it worth? I'm not really happy, but I'll take it. Here you go. And then the processor does the same thing, goes to the retailer. This is my product. What is it worth? And the retailer does the same thing to consumers. I would call this a push model, right? This is what we have at the farm level. We just push this through the entire supply chain. Now I think we are looking at a pull model. I mean, consumers have a lot of weight now in the food supply chain, and retailers are listening to consumers, relaying these consumer preferences to processors, to producers, and so it changes the entire dynamics across the entire supply chain. Now you need a lot more coordination between producers and processors, and I think if you look at some of the most successful processors or food manufacturing businesses, they're the ones that were able to coordinate their entire supply chain, downstream and upstream as well, with producers and with retailers. And I think this is even going to be more important into the future, knowing what consumers want to eat and the many different dimensions of their food preferences. That's going to require processors, retailers, and producers to make the right kind of investments and make sure that they coordinate themselves so that they're able to supply what consumers want. Otherwise, it's going to be supplied elsewhere or by other businesses located not in Canada.
Okay. Hey, I appreciate the insight, JP. Thanks.
Thank you so much for the invite.